Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is, another Wednesday, and today we are starting our sayings. Yes, we're getting into the sayings portion of The Great Goddess. And what are sayings? Well, I have certain sayings that I've written down that are part of a book I've written. And I will be going over the sayings one by one throughout the videos to tell you some more about my sayings and to explain them in greater detail to you. So I'll be doing sayings. And today's saying is about weakness versus strength. Weakness versus strength. Here's the saying. Human beings are best defined by their weaknesses rather than their strengths. For weakness is more profound than strength, and a failing of greater moment than the might of the whole world. Now, what does this saying mean and how is it significant? Well, let's first talk about weaknesses. People have many weaknesses, and their weaknesses are important because the failing point is the weakest point in a link of a chain. If a chain has a weak link, that's the breaking point. So a weakness is very important. And we think of weaknesses as not a big deal, that we should concentrate on our strengths and ignore our weaknesses. But no, we should concentrate on our weaknesses and turn them into strengths. That's what we should do. We should concentrate on our weaknesses and improve on our weaknesses so that they're no longer weaknesses anymore. And people have many weaknesses. There's a weakness for gambling, a weakness for alcohol, a weakness for men or women, depending on whether you're attracted to males or females. And there's weaknesses galore. There's all sorts of weaknesses in this world. So what do we think of a weakness? How do we deal with our weaknesses? Well, we can think about what the nature or the character of the weakness, and then based upon the character of the weakness or the nature of the weakness, we can begin to reverse it. We can begin to turn the weakness into a strength so that we no longer have that weakness. So for an easy example, how about gambling? Some people have a weakness for gambling. Well, why do they have a weakness for gambling? Because they think they're going to win big. They think they're going to hit the jackpot and they're going to earn a lot of money. And so they spend a lot of money trying to earn a lot of money. And they keep losing. They just keep losing and losing and losing. And they never hit the jackpot because the gambling systems are designed to make money for the gambling system. And they're designed to have people fail. So what can a person do about this gambling habit? They can get real. They can get real about gambling and realize that it's a money pit and that they're actually losing a lot of money trying to get rich. And then they can begin to make amends and not gamble so often and gradually lessen the amount of gambling they do until they're not gambling at all anymore. And that's a similar approach that you can take to anything like for example, alcoholism. Some people can't go cold turkey off of alcohol. They should go cold turkey. They should go to rehab and so on. But if they can't go cold turkey off of alcohol, they should lessen the amount of alcohol they have each day until they're not drinking anymore. That's just an example, but maybe that doesn't work for alcoholism. Maybe people do have to go to cold turkey off of alcohol and not have one last hurrah and keep indulging and then wind up drinking more than they would have if they hadn't said they were going to quit alcohol. So it all depends. Your approach depends on whatever your weakness is. And so if you have these weaknesses, acknowledge them and work on them. And if you don't think you have any weaknesses, you're wrong. Everybody's got a weakness. Everybody's got weaknesses, and everybody has to work on their weaknesses. And so that why is a weakness of greater moment than a strength? Why is it more important than the whole world? And it's because these weaknesses are failing points. Okay, they're failing points along the path. And if you fall into a pit, you can't continue your journey, can you? You're stuck. So acknowledging our weaknesses is the first step. Sometimes you can't do anything about your weaknesses, and that's okay. You just have to acknowledge that you have a weakness. The first step is acknowledging that you have a weakness. And then once you've acknowledged your weakness, you can do certain things about it, even if there's nothing else that you can do to change your weakness, that you'll always have that weakness. There's certain things you can do to make sure that you don't fall into a pit. And so, for example, an alcoholic can go to support groups and they can acknowledge that they have a problem with alcohol and maybe always will. And then once they've acknowledged the problem, they can avoid alcohol and avoid people who would drag them into drinking, and keep company with people who are alcoholics themselves that are working on the problem. So that's very encouraging, and that gives people the support they need to get off of alcohol and to stay away from alcohol. So that's just an example of a weakness that people can work on and how they would work on it. So, weaknesses versus strengths. Weaknesses are very important. And people who are strong people don't tend to admit that to having any weaknesses, but they should, because as we've mentioned before, a weakness is important. I'm Sarah Jane Alpha Wolf signing off. Have a terrific week and work on those weaknesses.